Sylvia and me.
Sylvia and
Sylvia and me. Sylvia and
Sylvia and me.
Sylvia.
When I stopped and realized that it was the unprocessed emotions stored in my body causing this pain, I went into a huge healing cocoon. I went through a whole self-healing journey. And I have to tell you, I did not take any medication. There was not a special doctor who did a surgery on my back. I released the pain in my body, drug-free, with me, myself, and I. Had therapists, had coaches throughout the way, but the deepest and strongest healing came from myself.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Beckerman, host of the podcast series Sylvia and Me, conversations with inspiring, empowering women.
Hi, I'm Erin Diehl. I am the founder of Improve It. I am a failfluencer, entrepreneur, mom of a 2-legged and a 4-legged child, and I'm so excited to be here on Sylvia and Me today.
Erin, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to have a fantastic conversation. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And it's going to show people how to really love themselves, which is key to everything. You're also a fellow podcaster, from what I understand, and your podcast just charted to number 8 in career podcasts in the US and number 4 in Canada. And your new book that was just released called I See You, and see with the eyes, I see you. And then it's got a subtitle, A Leader's Guide to Energizing Your Team Through Radical Empathy. But as you've said, it's not just for corporations or leadership in a business. It's for leaders, parents, partners, friends, siblings, daughters, sons, who put everyone else in their life first. What I'd like you to do, I know this is at the end of your book, but I think it really will set the tone for what we're going to be talking about. So I'd like you to read a little bit of what you call the commencement speech.
Thank you, Sylvia. Okay. This is the Energy You commencement speech, a poem. You started off as a lifelong student at Energy U. You didn't know you were already formally enrolled. This much is true. As time went on, it was made clear that you needed this master class in love. It was time to stop living in fear. You came in unsure, but knew you would learn a ton. With a wacky professor leading the way, I'm sure you knew that we would incorporate fun. You witnessed the juxtaposition of upset and upward you, and learned how to listen to yourself and help your mind and body renew. You can now say yes to you with ease and grace. No more burning the candle. Gone is that negative space. You know how to plan lightsaber days to savor your light, and now you know how to fill your cup first. What a delight. By saying yes to yourself and your ideal day, you run your life. Chaos and stress no longer have a say. When you find yourself thinking negative thoughts and have a limiting belief, you can say, new choice, and choose again. What a relief. You can now empower yourself and your team to think about their favorite things instead of gripe. This is all because you are now a visionary. You know your type. A selfless leader who leads with the energetic level of 10. When your selfless leadership ways start to fade, reread the story of Jen. You now know how to use empathy to cheer others up when they are sad. Make sure to remember the lessons we learned from our boy Chad. You've written your offer letter to yourself as the smart, selfless leader you are. I don't have to tell you this, visionary, but you are a star. Because you've put love inwardly, outwardly it shows, and because of this selfless leadership, a magnetic culture begins to flow. Your magnet tiles culture creation is beautiful, with each piece different in shape, color, and size. Then you got to witness your core values start to take shape right before your very eyes. Once your core values and your teams are aligned, you start to attract the right people and develop group mind. As the visionary, you are creating and innovating day after day. Your missionaries are the mouthpiece, showing the world your combined way.
Okay. I absolutely love it because, as I said, it does set up for what we're going to talk about. And we have such a habit of it, we make it so difficult to finally realize that we have to come first. If we don't come first, we're never going to be able to take care of anyone else, anything else. Our lives are really not going to be where they should be because we're missing the greatest part, and that is us. And you have you mentioned improv, and you say every day of your life is an improv scene. And it is.
It is.
You started this in 2020. Pandemic had a huge impact on you. And from there, you developed 3 P's: perpetual pivoting, people pleasing, and perceived pain. So, what I want to do right now is let's go through the 3 of them. Let's start with perpetual pivoting, because life really, we talk about being able to pivot, but it is a continuous, an absolute continuous practice that we need to do all the time. Why did you even think about that? And I want people to remember we're talking 2020. We know what happened in 2020. Lockdown.
Mm-hmm. Another P, the pandemic. It was, why did I think about pivoting? That was my only choice. It was survival. It was the only thing I could do to savor the company that I had spent the past 7 years building, which was a completely in person, completely face to face, completely human to human, Sylvia, professional development company without a digital leg to stand on. It was scary. It was terrifying. And I had just at that time become a new mom. We were just talking before we hit record about my son. He was born in 2019. I had just gotten back to work. And then everything that I had spent my past 6 years, my entrepreneurial career building, literally was taken away almost overnight. And I had at the time what I thought was the best team. And I had created these experiences. But what I was really interesting at that time for me was that I had been pushing so hard that I'd never actually taken a step to reflect on what we had built. So it was almost like opening up your yearbook at the end of your senior year of high school and being like, oh my God, look at what we've done. Look at what we've created. And in that reflection, it was so beautiful to me that what we had created was so special, was so different, that was having such a positive impact, not only on the community that we were in at the time, which was Chicago, but all over the world. And I knew it couldn't go away. So pivoting was the only thing I could do to survive. And if you've seen the Friends episode where Ross is like, or yeah, it's Ross, pivot, pivot,
Yeah.
pivot. I mean, that was the word of the year. And we probably had 7 pivots in 6 months. And we had to, because that was the only way we could continue to pay our people, to keep our lights on, which at that time was Zoom running. And it was probably the greatest learning experience of my life.
And as you know, 99% of us, if not 100, had a pivot, but not everyone realized it. Not everyone was able to accomplish it.
Yeah.
So we're talking, that's the first P. In that comes next people pleasing, because we can pivot, but people pleasing just might get in the way of any kind of success in any pivot.
Oh, Sylvia, you know it. And when I talk about that time, and anybody listening can think back to where they were in March of 2020. And I had some friends who were like relishing in it and were baking bread and doing all the hobby, like sourdough was like the rage. And I was like, I am fighting to keep my business and my child alive right now. So there's no sourdough baking over here. But what I realized about myself in that reflection period was how deeply I craved outside validation and how I had just neglected myself completely. I was, and I'm sure, anyone listening can relate, especially if you identify as a woman listening to this show. I feel like we have a lot of different titles, right? I'm a mom, I'm a daughter. And at the time, my mom had just had a stroke and was in the hospital, and I couldn't even go see her. Like, how crazy is that? Um, I also was a leader, so I was trying to please my team. I also led a wonderful slew of clients, and so I was trying to please them and make sure they were happy and contracts were ending because their budgets were being cut. I'm also a friend, and I have many friends who are small business owners, so I was trying to be there for them as they were closing their doors, laying people off. I'm also a wife, and so I was trying to please my husband. As a new mom, I was just trying to figure out who I was in the world and please this miracle baby that I just brought into the world. And so at the time, I realized that I was just giving and giving and giving to everyone except the most important person in my life, which was me. If I don't have anything to give, I can't give. And the tank was empty, the kettle was dry, all the metaphors you want to use. The mask that I put on the airplane was given to five other people. I had no air, all of the things. It was a really eye-opening experience.
We're going to go to the third P, perceived pain. You mentioned that you hadn't given yourself permission to feel the pain that you mentioned, the business, life, what we do. Explain, let's talk about perceived pain.
Okay, so all of this sort of built on each other. The pivoting was chronic stress. I mean, my nervous system was overloaded. There was no off day. When I was off, it was disassociating with a dirty martini and a bad reality television show. I literally ordered dirty martini special juice from Amazon during that time. Okay, there was one a night. The people pleasing was just a pattern that reared its ugly head, but made me take a second look at myself. But the pain happened at the end of 2020, and it lasted, Sylvia, until probably beginning of 2023. And it was pain in my back and in my shoulders that made me feel like I had gigantic softballs underneath my muscles. My body was so tense. I went to chiropractors. I went to general practitioners. I took x-rays. No chiropractor could crack it out. No doctor, no blood test could tell me what was wrong. I went to healers. And what I finally realized was that my body was in pain because I had not processed any of the emotions or stress that I had been through. And not to mention, prior to the pandemic, I had a 3.5 year fertility battle. So I was going through constant fertility treatments to conceive my son. And then he was conceived. I was so excited. And then the pandemic happened. My mother had a stroke. And at the same time, Sylvia, I moved across the country. Didn't add that part in. So it's just all the things. And my body was breaking down. It was, I guess maybe you think I had some whispers in there, like it was whispering it to me at first and I didn't listen. And then it started to yell, and then it was screaming, and figuring out the root of my pain became my second full-time job. When I stopped and realized that it was the unprocessed emotions stored in my body causing this pain, I went into a huge healing cocoon. I went through a whole self-healing journey. And I have to tell you, I did not take any medication. There was not a special doctor who did a surgery on my back. I released the pain in my body, drug-free, with me, myself, and I. had therapists, had, coaches throughout the way, but the deepest and strongest healing came from myself.
And that is powerful. That is the connection that you talk about. And so the birth of I See You, it's a connection that takes a lot to be able to actually admit, to realize, and then have the strength to do what you did. So now that you've made this connection, talk about energy U, and it's the letter U, because you talk about upset you versus upward you.
Yeah.
Everything with a U. What is energy U?
Yes. Okay, Sylvia, I love you. You are such a good interviewer. By the way, everyone listening, give her 5 stars immediately because you have done your homework. Like, so great. So great. So energy, and it is the letter U, like you said, because it's really Energy University. And I like to equate myself to your professor. And now I don't have a PhD, but I really do.
You have a doctorate in wait a minute. Is it
a
fun?
doctorate in fun? Yes, I don't have a PhD. I like to say I have a doctorate in fun, but I am a PhD, a pretty huge deal. And that's my last name, so gotta put it in there. And I also I like to say I'm like Amy Poehler in Mean Girls. Like, I'm like a little, nutty, a little out there, but I'm also like a little wacky, like think Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor. And I collectively am your cheerleader through this Energy University. And so some people are like, okay, am I getting punked? Where's Ashton? What's happening here, right? What is Energy U? And I like to tell people to do this. So I don't know if you have a phone on you, Sylvia, but anyone listening, if you're listening on your phone, very easy, just go to the photos section of your phone, if you don't mind, or just think about a photo that comes to mind that you're in the picture. Okay. And so it could be you go on Instagram or you just go in the photos section of your phone and you can look at that picture, and in that moment, study that, because that moment, that picture right there is energy.
Oh, yes.
And, right? So what's your picture?
Well, my first picture is a picture of me celebrating my birthday the other day.
Oh, you look beautiful. And you're smiling. So right there, that takes you back to that moment, that feeling. And that feeling is
Totally.
energy, right? And so we've been studying energy our entire life, but I say that Energy U is a master class, right? So
yes, I totally agree. Smile. To me, you have to wake up in the morning. If you can't look in that mirror and smile and get that and start the day off, your day's gonna go on.
Yes. So, and then we talk about 2 case studies, 2 alumni of this school, Energy U. One is, as you mentioned, Upset You. Upset You, and maybe just as I give some characteristics of Upset You, I would like everyone to just think about a person who comes to mind. Okay. So Upset You gets up late because they've hit snooze on their alarm one too many times. They run around their house like they got hot coals under their feet trying to get ready. They run in the bathroom to put toothpaste on the toothpaste, but it squirts all over the countertop. When they finally get their teeth brushed, they go to the sock drawer and throw everything out because they're trying to find that perfect pair of socks, but they're not in there. When they finally get dressed, they rush out the door. Let's say they live in a big city like I used to, Chicago, and they hop on the extra crowded 151 bus where they stand in the armpit of a stranger for the next 5 minutes as they go on their way to work while fumbling with their iPhone, and the
Of
other
course.
because it's not best practice to make eye contact with the armpit that you stand next to going to work. Then they rush, instead of going to their office building, they go to the local coffee shop where they stand in line, fuming, waiting for that cup of joe. And then they rush to their office where they sit down, and their coworkers notice that they are indeed 15 minutes late, again, with a Starbucks in hand. They open their email or their laptop. The first thing they do is check email, and they angrily reply to a vendor who just asked them to buy something because they did not ask to be sold to today. And then they pick up a Post-it note that they've left next to their keyboard that has a random item for them to do because they have no formal task or to-do list for their day. And then Upset You puts their head on their desk because this is the same day after day after day. Groundhog Day existence that they have lived, and it's all they know. So I don't know if you could relate to any of those scenarios, Sylvia. Could you?
Of course.
Right. And we all could, because we're all human beings, right?
Exactly.
We're humans. We're figuring this thing called life out. Upset You is a true story, and it was a true story, and it is mine. And it is how I started every day as a new business owner. It is how I started every day when I walked into my office with my team. It was how I started every morning, and it was all I knew. It was truly a baseline. Anxiety and stress were a baseline for me. And so through years of figuring out how to give more love to myself and be the person I want to be and the leader I want to be led by, I transformed into Upward You. And I can talk about Upward You, but tell me if you want to unpack Upset You a little bit.
I think that Upset You is so many of us until we realize, and some never do. And I think that's why we're talking about this now, because Upset You is never going to be able to relax, is never going to be happy, is never going to appreciate what is around them. So tell me about Upwards You, because Upwards You is what we need to move forward on a daily basis and set our expectations and appreciate what's around us.
Yes. Oh, I love it. So just to caveat that, yeah, Upward You is living in an abundance mindset. Upset You lives in scarcity and fear. And I say in the book, you can choose fear, you can choose love, but you can choose again. And there's actually an activity in the book that helps you choose this more abundance mindset called New Choice that can help you lead yourself into this more Upward You transformation. So, Upward You gets up with their alarm. They have set out their clothes from the night before because they know they have what we call the ideal day way, which is another activity in the book. Another pun on my last name, but it's very punny, so I got to use it. But it is an intentional way to start your day. They put their clothes out the night before. They've decided what they want to do to give to themselves first, to fill their cup first. And that could be going for a walk. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be sitting down and journaling or meditating. Whatever it is that they're going to do that morning, they get up and they give to themselves first before opening their phone, before scrolling social media. After that, they intentionally start their day with a to-do list. They know exactly the environment they want to work in, how they want to feel, the content that they're consuming. They go about their day with intention and gratitude. They know the very last thing that they want to do at the end of the day to calm down, to wind down, to give gratitude to the day that was and gratitude to the day that will be. And that is what Upward You continues to do. That's the cycle that Upward You continues to live and to emulate, to be the light, to show others that it can be done, and ultimately to live a life of joy now, not tomorrow, not the next day, but to be here now in this present moment with a life that is intentionally being co-created by themselves in the universe, whoever you want to call it.
Okay. And as far as, it's setting out expectations, it's setting yourself up for success. And you mentioned the word fear, and we all have come across that feeling. To me, the whole thing is you need to not let that stop you from moving forward.
Yeah.
We all have something that we fear. We all have something that maybe we failed at. We need to move forward and not let that stop you, because with fear, there's always another yellow brick road. There's always a road. If that straight road isn't the one and you're afraid of it, turn to the left and see what's there.
That's so true. I love that. And, the acronym of FAIR is super simple. It's false evidence appearing real. And when I look at myself as upward you, I literally had so much fear and anxiety about just being on time, about getting things done. There was never enough. And I remember a coworker said to me one time, she goes, I don't know if you need to feel stressed in order to feel productive. But I was just like, that sat with me on a deep level, like sat with me, because man, I mean, that is how I showed up in her mind. That was the and I was leading her, by the way. So like that example is an example of fear. It's an example of not enough. It's an example of scarcity. And it was a ripple effect for my entire team.
And that's the key. And it could be the team that your business, it could be your children and who they look at, it could be your friends. It goes throughout your whole life and every person that you touch. And you talked about upward you and setting closeout and setting a list. I don't do that because it's not what I do, but in my head, I know it. So I don't know that it has to literally be done. It probably does for people who were totally the opposite before, to start getting into some kind of not just routine, but a mindset that sets the tone for the rest of the day and the people around you.
Yes, because your energy, and this is another thing we study at Energy U, your energy is a ripple effect to everyone around you. And if you don't fill yourself up for first, people are just going to take. They are just going to take. And what happens is, by the end of the day, you've given nothing to yourself. You've given everything that you have to other people, and everyone around you has been given something of yours, but you have nothing left to give yourself. So if you start the day by giving to yourself first, and you end the day by giving to yourself last, at the end of it, right? You're still giving to yourself. You have intentional time, and you've intentionally set up yourself to recharge, refuel, and you start to have more to give.
Well, you call that, you use the terminology magnetic culture.
Yeah.
And it's like anything else, it's a domino effect. It will affect other people in the same positive way that you present yourself.
That's right.
One of the other things that you talk about is understanding the mission, but the mission is never complete.
Yeah.
And that it says a lot, because if we think it's complete, then we have nothing to strive for.
That's right.
Every day to me is a new day, and you never know where that will lead you.
Can I tell you a really weird dream I just had? And it
Sure.
ties into what you just said. In this dream, I was literally with my family, and I went at the end of the day. It was a really wonderful day. And I had scheduled a meeting with my intuitive coach. I do have an intuitive coach who I talk about in the book as well. And he was sitting down with me and he drew what looked to be like an hourglass. And he said to me, "That's it. Time's up." I woke up from this dream thinking, "Oh my God, am I dying tomorrow? Like, what is happening here?" This was a couple weeks ago, so I made it. Okay. But one of my things that I do to give to myself in the morning is meditation. And so I meditated and I asked, what in the world was that dream about? And in meditation, I believe you receive information. And so I received the information from my guides, whoever you want to call it, angels, inner voice. And it was, "You've been doing it all wrong. If you died tomorrow." Oh, well, okay. Part of the dream I mentioned previous, or I forgot to mention previous to that, was that I had felt like I was in heaven before I met with my intuitive coach. And I literally felt all the stress and anxiety be released from my body. And then I met with the coach. He showed me he drew the hourglass and said, "Time's up." So my meditation told me that feeling that you felt when you were feeling like you were in heaven and that your anxiety was gone could be on earth. You're choosing to not find joy. You're missing the point of this existence. And every day since that dream, I got to tell you, I feel different. I feel lighter. Like, I feel like that was this wake up call, even though it literally was a wake up call. I woke up to that dream. But I woke up and realized it didn't have to be that way. I didn't have to choose to live in stress and fear, because I do have that pattern that is something that I was used to. Sometimes I go back to it.
Sure.
We all do. And I'm not perfect, right? I'm preaching this from learned experience, but I'm not perfect every day. And I was kind of going back down that upset you road. And it changed my mindset.
Well, that exactly. And I love that you said that, because we're not, perfection would be very boring, but we will fall back. There will be days, not every day is great. There will be days, but to have the tools to be able to give ourselves that time and get back to that happy place is really what life's about. So, two things. One, what would you like people to come away with? If nothing else, what would your mantra be?
Oh, that's a good one, Sylvia. This is just coming to me right now. I didn't want to just spurt it out. Asking yourself every single day, what do I need right now? Fulfilling that need, and then giving light to others after you've given to yourself. I truly think the only way we're going to heal the world is by healing ourselves. So asking yourself what you need is ultimately helping you meet your basic needs and giving you just more of what you want. And the more you have of what you want and what you need, the more you can give to other people, the more selfless of a leader, parent, human you are. And again, it comes back to what you just said about magnetic cultures. When you live from that place, you're not forcing, you're allowing, and you start to attract the people, the organizations, the jobs, the communities of your dreams. So really getting clear with yourself every single day. What do I need right now? And acting on it.
Beautiful. Where can people find out more about you?
You're awesome, Sylvia. My website probably is the easiest place. It's Erin Diehl, Diehl.com. And you can find the book. I see you there. My podcast, the Improve It podcast, all the things I do on social where I act like a fun human being. I do dress up in sketch characters from time to time. So yeah, and I'm just grateful for you. Thank you for reading the book and for your Wonderful questions. You are a light. Thank you. Thank you.
Erin, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. You can find us on all of your popular podcast platforms. And of course, our website, sylviaandme.com. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, stay tuned.